You know, I thought it was bad enough that this series is basically a galactic ripoff of The Parent Trap, but now we have semi-flaccid lightsabers and reenactments of Alf from the 90s. I hate it here. Hey y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. Episode 6 of my weekly waking nightmare, otherwise known as the Acolyte, has been out since last night. We spend this entire episode basically flip-flopping back and forth between 3 different, yet somehow similarly ridiculous situations. If you're worried about spoilers, you're gonna get spoilers right now. So, let's do this. We kick off this episode seeing Osha wake up in a cave on some kind of unidentified island. Of course, she's been brought there by Darth Sleeveless, and we immediately get this really great establishing shot of the island that she's on, and I can only assume that the $180 million partially went to shooting this on location, as well as painting Leslie Headland's wife green. We're gonna talk about that one in a few minutes. Back on Kofar, May and Sol are still getting set to take off for Coruscant. You know, May, who's still parent-trapping Sol and tricking him into thinking she's Osha, despite the fact that these people shouldn't speak the same at all, look a little different considering May has a literal forehead tattoo. And you know, Sol is a Jedi Master who should be able to differentiate these two twins considering, you know, he's connected to the Force and also he trained one of them for years, so it should not be that hard to tell the difference, but this is Disney Star Wars, stop trying to make it make sense! While Sol is trying to get in touch with the other Jedi on Coruscant, May sneaks up to him to try and stab him in a very cartoony manner. But right away, Sol turns around and is distracted by something else. And he literally gives May the wheel. So not only has he not realized that this is the wrong person, but if he had realized that it was the wrong person and he was playing mind games, he still left her in control of the f***ing ship. I don't know if the money that didn't go into the writing went into animating Basil, but as I watch him wander around the ship, I genuinely feel like I'm watching Alf. Back on the island, Darth Sleeveless is stripping down to his birthday suit to go skinny dipping. And as he's stripping down, we can see that he possesses a rather large, very attention-grabbing scar on his back. I'm sure you maybe thought I was going to say something else. Of course, this is Disney Star Wars, so there's not going to be any real nudity, but also, since when is there, like, suggested nudity in Star Wars? Why are we getting shots where you can clearly tell this guy has no clothes on? What is this show's obsession with, like, partial nudity? They had Yord without a shirt on at, like, the very first episode of the show for literally no reason. Is this supposed to be fan service? And on another note, let's point out that every time adults with taste bitch about this show on YouTube, people come at us and go, well, it's made for kids. Of course you're not gonna like it. I don't know, the guy skinny dipping doesn't feel like this is made for kids. Specifically. Osha is literally watching him skinny dip the whole time, and she eventually picks up his lightsaber, but because he's not a f***ing moron, you know, plot devices, he senses her in the Force, and he gets up and comes over to talk to her, still in the nude. Like, he's having this conversation with his business on display. And he kind of starts dogging her for her relationship with Sol and brings up the fact that it is very much a special relationship, master and pupil, which I can only imagine must have come from Leslie Headland's imagination, because it seems like this is probably the exact same relationship she had with her star Harvey Weinstein, right? I mean, except for, you know, all the extortion and abuse towards women, which she definitely had nothing to do with. So we switch right back to the ship, and Sol embraces May, thanks her for saving his life, and somehow, despite the fact that he is 6 inches away from her, he doesn't see the forehead tattoo, he doesn't feel her in the Force, and you might say, well, he's distraught, he just lost all his Jedi Shut up! If you're a real f***ing Jedi, it doesn't matter what distress you're in, you're gonna notice that something's off! The ship is malfunctioning, so he sends May to go take a look at it, obviously because Osha was a mechanic, and we're gonna pretend that the word mechanic was not born out of a typo of the word mechanic. We finally return to Coruscant, where we see Jedi Master Green Skittle. She starts talking to a very delicate-looking Jedi by the name of Mog. Mog, who seems more like the kind of guy to get shoved into a locker by a stronger Jedi, notifies her that Jedi Master Sol has sent out a distress signal. She, of course, panics and decides to start a group to go down to Kofar. She's notified that she gets nauseous in hyperspace. But she insists on going anyway. Who the f is writing this? You know what? I promise you, this is some inside joke between Leslie Headland and her wife. Maybe she gets seasick or something and they decided to include it because it's just so cute. Shut the f up. Back on the island, we get yet another pointless piece of conversation where Darth Sleeveless explains to Osha that he was once a Jedi and that he was apparently betrayed. And despite the fact that he seems willing and almost enthusiastic about discussing this, Osha asks no further questions because this is Disney Star Wars and instead decides to ask why he brought her here. Of course, she comes to the conclusion that this is leverage. Jedi Master Soul is so connected to the Force, so connected to her, that he will eventually notice that she's gone and he will come and find her here. Good luck with that, Toots, because despite the fact that you and your sister are supposed to be two very different people and she's got face tattoos and you don't, he's not even strong enough with the Force to identify that you two are different people. And here's where we get to the point that I really considered running into traffic. And I know it seems like I'm over the top irritated about everything in this series, but this is when it gets so much worse. We go back to the ship where May is trying to figure out what is going on with the ship, and she's literally attacked by Basil and the droid Pip. So Basil kind of comes over and starts humping her leg and then eventually stomps on her toes. Pip sprays her with some shit and she starts screaming in this very Disney Channel way. This show has been canon-breaking bullshit since the beginning, but at this point, it becomes 90s sitcom reject, canceled in the first season trash. And I can only hope that this show gets the axe after the last 2 episodes, because honestly, if I have to watch any more than 8 episodes of this, I'm going to have to be committed to an asylum. Darth Sleeveless is trying to tell Osha that she's been powerful with the Force the whole time because you really don't have to train it. Anyways, he pisses off Osha enough that she ends up putting the lightsaber to his neck. But it really doesn't have any real gravitas here because 1, we know she's not gonna do shit, it's Disney, and 2, we're also getting a performance that feels very, how do you say, junior high theater. We're spared the rest of this, and we flash back to May and Soul on the ship. As May runs to make a distress call, she is stunned by Soul, who seems to have finally realized that it's May. And of course, people will say, inevitably, on the internet that he knew the entire time that he was just playing the game. It's obvious Basil literally went and told him. Soul was so lost in the sauce or so disconnected from the Force or whatever you want to call it that he did not realize that these were 2 different people until Basil, the 2-legged hedgehog or whatever the he is, came and told him. I'm sorry, Lee Jung-jae deserved so much better than this. The guy literally learned English to be able to do this role, but this is so ridiculous. This show genuinely has more plot holes than a block of Swiss cheese! At this point, the D-list Jedi have arrived on Kofar, and Mog suggests to Jedi Master Green Skittle that maybe the Umbra Moths killed all the Jedi. Let me repeat that for you. These Jedi believe that it is possible for moths to kill Jedi. Who's training these guys? Grimace? The Hamburglar? I don't know, this is bullshit. They start coming across the corpses and we eventually get a dazzling display of lightsaber whipping by Leslie Headland's wife Fiona from Shrek. It's almost embarrassing. Like if a Jedi was about to fight me and they pulled out this floppy ass lightsaber whip, I would expect them to go, "Shit, I'm so sorry, this doesn't usually happen to me." I would not be intimidated at all. I don't give a shit that it's canon. It looks stupid in live action, and they also let the worst actress, if you could call her that, in the entire series handle it. Back on the island, Osha and Darth Sleeveless are still talking, and Darth Sleeveless essentially tells her that what he wants is the power of 2.
Power of 1, the power of 2, the power of many.
Which physically pains me to say. We just talked about the stupid lightsaber whip being canon, and speaking of canon, we also get a little more information about that helmet. Darth Sleeveless's helmet is made out of a metal that can short lightsabers called cortosis. Now, cortosis is not for all of us normies. It was only in the extended universe and Legends. You know, the extended universe that Disney said was not canon and threw away in favor of writing their own dog shit canon. It is amazing to me that Disney is so willing to throw away 99% of the canon established by Legends in the extended universe, except they dig up nonsense from the extended universe to justify their own bullshit when it works for them. That way, when we're complaining about this is canon breaking bullshit, why are you killing my franchise, they can go, haha, you didn't know about cortosis? Talk about not being a real fan. F you, Disney. I also want to point out that in this exact same scene, Darth Sleeveless is welding his helmet together. The helmet is made out of cortosis, which shorts lightsabers that famously cut through everything. He's welding it together. I said it once and I said it again. F off, Disney. As we near the end of this weekly torture session, episode, we get the potential for two big moments in this series. Finally, May is restrained on Soul's ship, and Soul lets her know that his mission now is to find her master and save Osha. He's about to tell her something. Probably exactly what happened on Brendok all those years ago, when he tells her that he has been waiting and thinking for 16 years of how to tell her this, despite the fact that he thought she was dead for 16 years. Now apparently he's been thinking about how to say this. But 16 long years he's been waiting to say, I don't f***ing know, because we end up cutting back to Osha on the f***ing island. Osha is now molesting Darth Zippermouth's helmet, and Amanda Stenberg is doing her best eyebrow acting. Allow me to demonstrate. I've been doing this for 2 seconds and I feel like I have to buy this thing dinner now. She puts it on and we see that he can't see shit either, and she's just breathing heavily. And the episode literally ends on her breathing noises. Like it's dark as shit in that helmet and suddenly there's credits and we still hear her breathing. Disney really thought they did something with that exit. Do we understand that nothing has happened in this show and nothing happened in this episode? We started with Soul and May on the ship to go back to Coruscant. We ended with Soul and May still on a ship going nowhere. We start off with Darth Sleeveless and Osha having conversations on an island, and that is exactly how we ended, except now she's cosplaying. And that other plot line that nobody gave a f about, even more irrelevant canon fodder, Jedi going down to Kofar to investigate. Of course, we did get to see the coolest lightsaber on the world, the whip lightsaber. That lightsaber looks like the embodiment of when you get to the hotel and have to explain to your wife, babe, I left the blue pills back in Wisconsin. But at least Leslie Headland's wife, while she's handling this absolute embarrassment of a lightsaber, is delivering lines with all the conviction of a 14-year-old in a high school production of Hamlet. This show is getting worse all the time, and the only thing Disney is doing about it is screaming racism. Notice that none of my arguments in this video or any of my other ones are ever political, but Disney can politicize them because they can't justify the show because they objectively know it's shit. They have to just come at us and call us racists and bigots because that seems like it's gonna cancel out our argument. And guess what, babies and gentlemen? I'm gonna keep bitching about this till the cows come home because this show sucks and Disney deserves to suffer for it. That's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, tune in on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. EST. You can also check out my Instagram. And if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and content. I will add links to all of those in the description below. And let me know your thoughts on episode 6 of The Acolyte in the comments below.